If a centralized entity held the decentralized property, you would have a profound advance forward. So for example, if JP Morgan went and they bought 1 million Bitcoin tomorrow, you would have a decentralized property held by a centralized entity. The price of Bitcoin would go to 10 million a coin. And every hodler, right, every Bitcoiner with Bitcoin and cold storage everywhere in the world would have Bitcoin worth $10 million a coin. Now, there's going to be 100,000 platforms, 100 million companies. There's 10,000 decentralized cryptocurrencies, or things that people are trying to represent as decentralized. There's all sorts of non-custodial, this, that, and the other thing. Does any of it matter? No. Nothing matters. There's only one thing in the world that matters, which is Bitcoin. If the government of Russia or the government of Saudi Arabia went and decided to buy 1 million Bitcoin or 100,000 Bitcoin, 500,000 Bitcoin, if Apple did, I think that you got some money, you have an opportunity, buy Bitcoin. You want to invest in something? Invest in a company that's using Bitcoin, right? You want to live in a country? Live in a country that lets you own Bitcoin. You want to fix the thing? Put some Bitcoin in it. Like that's a very straightforward view. Here's the problem, as far as I can see, like there's been one successful project called Bitcoin, right? Now, there's 6,500 cryptos. Name the next 12 that are property, right? We can have a debate. Bitcoin forks, but they would like half the time they might or might not be able to make the case. Now you have 6,000 cryptos that are projects, but they use the word project, but that's interchangeable with, it's really company. It's project is venture, right? Now, there's a lot of non-custodial, decentralized things you can do with it. And many of them are good. Like if you're in a hostile regime, like if you live in a communist regime and they're going to murder you because you have property, then you need peer-to-peer non-custodial wallets. I get it, right? In Cuba or North Korea, where the government thinks you should lose your life and lose your freedom should you own anything, then you need it. But if you live in the United States where you have property rights and you have a legal right to own things, do you still need all these non-custodial? Do you need 10,000 non-custodial crypto networks and non-custodial everything under the sun? Do you need non-custodial decentralized yield generation? Do you need decentralized insurance and decentralized banking and decentralized NFT, this, that, and the other thing? And it's like, and my answer is no. There's this fascination with it. It's like you got a square peg, or people came up with like a hammer, so everything's a nail, and they want to use the hammer on everything. But really, there's one thing which is the solution to half the problems on Earth. One thing, Bitcoin. And then the next 100,000 things is going to be the answer to 5% of the problems on Earth. But you know what the problem is? The next 100,000 things are going to be non-compliant. So you have one thing which is compliant in the world, in the socialist and the capitalist world, and a world of property rights. Bitcoin is compliant. It is legal to own property. Now, is it legal to do DeFi, yield generation, credit default swaps on decentralized exchanges? How about do triple anonymous wash transactions on NFTs that I sold to myself 6 times with leverage? I mean, none of that stuff is legal, right? But, maybe it's legal somewhere in cyberspace, but let's just use the word compliant. It's just, every single thing you're trying to do, when you're trying to if you're trying to dematerialize insurance and banking and art, that's what this is, right? NFT is dematerialized art, right? And DeFi is dematerialized, banking and dematerialized exchanges. And when you're trying to dematerialize all this other stuff, you're tripping over all these compliance rails. I think the cognitive mistake, and I wish I could come up with a better way to explain it to people. The cognitive mistake, the mistake that people keep making over and over and over again, is they think that because Bitcoin needs to be decentralized, everything that touches it needs to be decentralized as well. And that second thing is, that's just an error. Centralized governments, right? Compliant governments, public investors, public companies, public institutions, centralized agencies that are custodial, they all can benefit from Bitcoin, and all of their engagement benefits Bitcoin. Like this issue with non-custodial. Well, at the end of the day, you're the custodian. I mean, there's no such thing really as non-custodial, because a family, the patriarch of the family becomes the custodian, and the beneficiaries are all the family members. So ultimately, until we get down to a world of 8 billion individuals that don't trust each other, there's one thing that needs to be non-custodial, and the one thing is Bitcoin. Like, once you've created that one thing, everything else, like you want to generate yield. Well, the truth is, a company, Fidelity, Coinbase, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they could all go to the SEC and they could create a Bitcoin yield fund. Fidelity could create a Bitcoin yield fund right now. Anybody in the mutual fund business could go and create a Bitcoin yield fund where they basically file a registration statement and they say, look, we're going to hold Bitcoin. We're going to sell the volatility on Bitcoin. We're going to sell out of the money calls, and we're going to generate effectively 12% yield. And we're going to give up all the upside over 40%. And maybe we're going to collar it or not collar it. So the volatility is going to go from 80 vol to 40 vol, and the yield's going to go from 0 to 8%. It sounds like a Bitcoin maximalist position, but it isn't quite. It's like, I think that the revolutionary innovation is digital property in the form of BTC. And now, if you want to go do things, the right way to think of it is pair Fidelity with Bitcoin, and pair Apple with Bitcoin, and pair a bank with Bitcoin, and pair everything on earth with Bitcoin. Everything. Your insurance. Do you have decentralized non-custodial life insurance right now? No. Do you want it? When you die, when they don't pay your insurance plan, when you die, who do you've got an insurance policy from an anonymous person on Twitter, and there's a rug pull, and you don't collect on the policy, and who do you complain to? People don't really want a non-custodial life insurance policy in the United States. At least